Big goals can often feel very motivating, but they're the reason why most people fail or quit whatever they're doing. The reality is that small progress is what actually works in most situations. My name is Michael Bowyer. I'm a Jiu-Jitsu hobbyist. I've been doing Jiu-Jitsu for the past 5 years with my family. And a year ago, me and my wife decided to start Stonebelt Fightwear, a small Canadian family-owned business which focuses on BJJ gis and apparel. And we also do no-gi stuff. Today, I wanted to talk with you guys about why small steps actually matter in what you're doing. It matters in jiu-jitsu, it matters in business and family life. It matters pretty much everywhere. Putting up big goals for yourself will most usually end up giving you this feeling of having to catch up to something. It gives you the urge sometimes of doing things too early on in your journey, and maybe trying to fix everything at once. And this one really, hits home. I'm 100% the culprit of trying to do everything at once. It's one of the things I have to work on all the time. But this feeling leaves you burning a lot of energy, mental drain also, and the problem is that it doesn't build momentum ultimately, which is what you want, especially for a business or for your personal life or even for jiu-jitsu. Now, having a long-term vision is crucial. We all need some sort of big end goal that we want to reach, but big goals tend to create urgency, and urgency tends to create inconsistencies in the way you're going to approach your journey. It will often lead to mistakes because you're going to be impatient. You're going to want the treasure that's in front of you, and you can see it in your mind, but you can't touch it yet. So it often leads us to doing bad decision making. And small progress, on the other hand, will remove that pressure. So if you see the journey in small increments, it will add consistency that creates a compounding effect once you put Father Time into the equation. So that will really give you a competitive edge in whatever you're doing, whether it's in business or jiu-jitsu, because the reality is that these days, when we live in an age where everything is instant, being there for the long haul and concentrating on the end game step by step and being willing to do the long time grind that business or jiu-jitsu demands is actually a huge competitive advantage. The danger is trying to bring too many changes at once, or too many decisions in one instant, one period, because motivation is going to skyrocket. You'll feel like you're on top of the world, and what's going to end up happening is the moment that you miss one day, or that you miss an important call and you make a bad decision in your business, or that you decide to train a certain way and you see no progress, then you'll fall behind mentally or financially, and motivation's going to drop and you're going to feel like quitting, and most likely some of you are going to quit. It reminds me of this knowledge in the entrepreneur or business world, where most businesses don't really fail because of bad ideas or bad products. They fail because they don't have liquidity anymore. They basically don't have cash to continue operating, so their business dies. You need to make good decisions, and you need to manage what you have good, even if you have a great product, a great service, or a great training method. If you lack the resources, you'll end up failing whatever you're doing. And this really applies to jiu-jitsu in a lot of ways. you don't need to learn everything at once. The trap that we fall into when we start doing jiu-jitsu is that we're motivated, we're passionate at the beginning, and then we get humbled and we realize we need to learn a lot of things, and we see the black belt, the end goal, and we forget that most likely everyone that's got a black belt built that belt by repetition, time, grind, uh, spent on the mats, sweating it out, doing the work. It's these small improvements stacking up. And all of these guys, myself included as a hobbyist, we all have these terrible days where nothing seems to click. And ironically, I think that's where we learn the most. If we're willing to just be humbled by it and learn, that's an incredible skill in itself, because you will learn more from these failures from anything else. The most important part is being ready to go past them and improve and make things better. And that's where you're going to have a better outcome at the end of the line. But I don't really believe in those outbreak moments. I think it's just the sheer consistency of choices in life that builds, that makes you good in jiu-jitsu, or that makes you good as an entrepreneur. So I think that the core concept is that progress needs to build on top of itself. That's what compounding is. We can apply it to finances, investment, all sorts of stuff. It applies to jiu-jitsu 100%. Small actions that are repeatable are usually easier to do and easier to manage. It makes for boring days and boring training methods sometimes, but it counts the most when you stack it up over time. I think the direction in which you're building matters more than the speed at which you're building. This reminds me like of the investment world. If you have any knowledge of investment and how compounding interest works, you know that if you start putting $25 aside in an S&P 500 at like 20 or 25 years old, by the time that you retire, you'll be a millionaire. You just put your money in this type of investment and it's nothing magical. It just grows over time and compounds. Now, if I were to apply this to the brand we're building with Stonebelt, we started small last year. We started building the website. We started getting ideas, designs, and we're starting, relatively small. We won't have like a big catalog of stuff. We'll have like a few items that we curated that really speak to the brand and what we are trying to accomplish. I started doing social media about like a little bit less than a year ago now, and slowly it's doing its thing, and I hope to reach people that think like us and that are interested in what we're trying to build and where we come from, because at the end of the day, that's really what our family brand, our ethos, is all about. So that's what we're hoping to share with this social media endeavor. I think one or more repeatable actions are way easier to do than trying to get at the top of the mountain with some kind of a boomerang, luck shot, helicopter, whatever you want to call it. If you're just willing to actually walk up the mountain and make the effort, you'll eventually get there, however slow you're going. So consistency and sustainability actually matter more than they actually matter more than we would think in the beginning. When especially if you're starting like a passion project like we are with Stonebelt, I of course I want to be part of the big brands. I want to be at IBJJF one day. I want to have that booth. I want to be able to have our brand be worldwide and known everywhere. Of course, that's the end goal. But if I think like that right now, I'm going to get discouraged because we're nowhere near there. So the questions I think we all need to ask when we're doing some sort of project, when we're doing jiu-jitsu training, is what can I sustain? What can I do next week? What can I sustain in terms of actions when my motivation drops? So what will I be able to do and continue doing in the following weeks, even if I don't really feel motivated? Okay, you're able to go to the gym, train at least twice a week. That's whatever you're motivated or not, then at least commit to that. Do it twice a week. Don't even think about it, just go. And you will see results. And you know, on a personal basis, when I started training, I started slow because my body couldn't handle going every day. But then I started liking it. And after a few months, I went more and more and more, and it's just compounding effect. So yes, ultimately, big goals and visions are absolutely necessary. But if we get stuck on only seeing those, then we forget all the small steps and all the progress that is necessary for long-term success. And you know, I know it's a little cliche, but this phrase really rings true to my life and to the way I'm building what I'm building when we say trust the process. And I think it's true. We need to trust the fact that if we build slowly, things will compound and things will bring success. And life is not always about not making mistakes. We are all going to make mistakes. It's going to be hard, and life is about getting better and learning from things to allow you to do what is necessary and what your neighbor's not willing to do. So you might not have big breakthrough moments in your jiu-jitsu training or your entrepreneurship journey, but if you put the consistent effort, you will see results, even if there's no like big magical moment. You need a repeatable process. You need to go smaller than you actually think. And not in terms of long-term goals. You can have big long-term goals, but in terms of the present, you need to go smaller, small bites, and stay consistent longer than it feels exciting. I know Alex Armosi always talks about this. You know, like if you're willing to endure the boring that most people stop at, then you'll most likely find success in whatever you're doing. So let the compounding do the work for you, and you know, don't give up on your journey, whether it's your training in jiu-jitsu, whether it's your business or your family life. I hope this is useful. I hope you like this video. Keep in touch with our channel, subscribe, like our videos. It really helps a ton. Thank you for listening. Have yourself a great weekend.
Forged under pressure, worn with honor. Join the movement, subscribe, and follow Stonebelt.